Well, Mr. Dennis Robertson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you
you.
for being here and for taking the time,
My
off
pleasure.
your busy schedule because campaign, we have 2 weeks to go.
Yes, we do.
Okay? But
2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact.
2 weeks from today. But before we start, I need to make the usual disclaimer, which you all know by now, but I feel that I must say it. We at Yonkers Voice do not endorse, support any candidate. That's not part of our agenda, well, for the lack of a better word. That's all of that we're looking for is to keep you, the people of Yonkers, informed of the platform of your candidate so you can make an informed and educated decision on who deserves your vote. And anyone out there that is running for public office and are interested in speaking with us, because we reach most Yonkers, please contact us, yv.support@yonkersvoice.com. So let's get this party going.
Yes, sir.
Dennis, why are you running?
Okay, good question. So, as you pointed out, there's an election this year for the 3rd District. I have served in this capacity in the past, 2004 through 2007. My entire adult life, I've been involved in the community, in the government. I love the city. In 2007, I ran for mayor. I lost. Subsequently, the seat was won by Joan Gronowski. She served for 4 years. Subsequent to that, Michael Sabatino served for 8 years. I worked with both of them closely because I cared about the neighborhoods and the community. Michael Sabatino has made a decision not to run for re-election. Therefore, there's an opening. The Democratic Party has chosen me to run for that seat to ensure that we keep a hold of a majority on the City Council. I've accepted that. Again, I think I bring a wealth of experience, leadership to a seat so we can continue to progress, move Yonkers forward with Mayor Spano. I think Mayor Spano was doing a spectacular job, as you know, for the past 4 years. I have been his liaison, part-time liaison, so I've been working with the City Council and the executive branch on all pieces of legislation within the government. I don't have that position anymore. I thought it was appropriate not to keep that role as I'm running for office. So that's why I'm here, Rue, and I appreciate the opportunity to present myself to the people of Yonkers, specifically to the voters of the 3rd District, specifically to the Democratic voters of the 3rd District, who have a choice to make in 14 days.
So guys, remember that we can bring to the show all the candidates, but the most important thing is that you come out on election day
Yes, sir.
and vote. Take nothing for granted. Don't think that, oh, who cares? If I don't vote, this one or that one is going to win. Every vote counts. You need to be out there. Now, you're not a newbie,
No, sir.
okay? So you've been around on this rodeo before.
I ran my first race in 1993 as the
Wow.
Democrat for this very seat.
For this very seat. What makes you apart from your opponents?
Well, I think it's my experience and my leadership ability. I have 2 very worthy opponents who are working very hard, as I am. I think on January 1st, I will hit the ground running. There'll be no hiccups. I'll understand all of the development projects that are happening. I'll understand the issues of the district, which I'm sure we'll get into. I'll understand the budget, which is always challenging in Yonkers. It was challenging my 4 years on the City Council. It continues to be challenging. So you need someone who understands how the process works, who understands the difference between the executive and legislative branch of government, who understands mostly how to get things done. That's what I pride myself on, getting things done. I'm not going to be someone who's going to tell you I'm going to do all things for all people. It's just not possible. I'm very pragmatic. So I will understand primarily that I need to vote a responsible budget, okay? And I need to also vote on land disposition on development projects that are going to directly impact the communities for which I wish to serve.
Dennis, what kind of elected official would you be in the sense of, do you vote only according to party lines or do you vote across party lines as long as it benefits the mass of the people of your district?
I mean, clearly I'm an independent person, I will vote what's in the best interest of all of the residents, A, of the 3rd District, and then citywide. There's no Democrat or Republican way to fill a pothole or to pave a street, or to even pass a responsible budget. Some of the guts that are in the budget, they may have some partisan issues to them, but we need to work through that.
Well, in Yonkers, especially your district, we have some major issues. We're going to talk about a few of them. The homeless, education, crime, budget. The budget does not just affect district, 3rd District, affects the entire Yonkers. So, according to you, what are the priorities? I'm sure that it's all important.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that is.
So, it's all important, and everything you mentioned before you mentioned budget is predicated on the budget. Crime, how many police officers we have, education, how much funding we have, homelessness, affordability. I'm sure you're going to talk about affordable housing. It's all predicated. Now, in homelessness and affordability for housing, we need to partner with the other levels of government, the county legislature, the state, the federal government, in order to solve and address that problem. Specifically for Yonkers, we have, not to get too off tangent here, we have a city side and a Board of Ed side of our budget, of our $1.6 billion budget. The City Council votes on the entire budget. The structure of our government is that we don't have any jurisdiction over the Board of Ed side. Those are the trustees. I think now is a great opportunity to address that. We all talk about how we're underfunded. I don't want to talk about how we're underfunded. I want to get together with our partners in Albany, and I want to figure out how we can best fund the education system. We create a worldwide education system, okay? And we have a great education system now. I mean, I think Dr. Casada and his team are doing a wonderful job. He boasts of an 86% graduation rate last year. I understand it may be higher this year. Awesome. We still have a long way to go in order to build a education system that people want to move into your city to use. That directly relates to property values. The diversity, I talk about the diversity of the city of Yonkers. I've been talking about it forever. Is our greatest strength. A lot of politicians are starting to talk about it now. I've been talking about it forever. The diversity of Yonkers is our greatest strength, and the 3rd District represents that. Yonkers is north, and the 3rd District is north and south Yonkers. The person who represents, and I'm sure Michael Sabatino will tell you this, Joan Gronowski will tell you this, I recognize that when I was on the city council, is the most diverse district of the entire 6 districts, with the exception of the president. So it really gives you a flavor of all of Yonkers, and it really gives you an understanding of what people are thinking and what they need, whether it's strictly education or strictly property taxes. And a good council person, a smart council person, and a reasonable council person needs to marry those and needs to come up with a responsible plan to pass a responsible budget to ensure that everybody is satisfied.
Since you mentioned budget and costs of doing things, I'm going to jump into education because we don't have much time to go in every single detail of every single subject. Education. About a few months ago, we had a rally right in front of the library where Dr. Casada, Mayor Spano, and other public officials were there talking about underfunded budget formulas. Dennis, I have to tell you, when they talk about the formula, sometimes this is just between us guys.
Yeah.
I pretend I know what you guys are talking about.
A lot of people
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what this formula is. I have no idea how they make it. I don't know nothing. Yeah. And I think most of us, I would say that 99% of the parents and probably even politicians don't know what this formula is. Do you?
Well, I have an idea. I have a general makeup of what the formulas having been on the council, predicated on property values. It's predicated on a lot of factors. Here's the good news. Here's the really good news for Yonkers. We now have the majority leader, Andre Stewart-Cousins, the Senate majority leader, and we have Senator Shelley Mayer as the education chair. Now, Senator Mayer has assured me that she is going to have public forums where we can talk about this formula so people can get the answers of the very question you just asked. What is the formula? And if we need to somehow fix or change that, we need to do it. But they need partners. They need partners on the city council, and I hope I can be one of them, who aren't going to just yell at them or say we need more money or even have rallies. That's not my style. It's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a demagogue. A lot of politicians are demagogues, and they just tell you what you want to hear, so you cheer, and then maybe you even elect them. I want to have solutions, real solutions to real problems. Now, funding is a real issue. That's what I'm looking to do when I get on the city council, along with my colleagues on the council, work with our state delegation. They need to work with the governor's office, and we need to, once and for all, come up with a formula that works for Yonkers, whatever that formula is. And it keeps changing. I mean, one piece of it I understand. I believe it to be true because I don't even know that Albany knows. You talk to some of the legislators in Albany, they get confused by it too. But it could be predicated on property values in Westchester County. Well, we're not Chappaqua, we're not Scarsdale, we're Yonkers. We have some really, really wealthy areas and we have some urban areas. So we need to figure out what works best for Yonkers.
So, in other words, if the politicians cannot translate to the people what this formula is, how can you offer, not you personally, I'm talking about politicians in general, been offering a solution to a problem that they don't understand?
Well, I mean, I don't want to paint the picture that nobody understands it.
Nobody. I'm talking about some.
Generally, I want to say that I think now in this history in Yonkers, because of the two individuals and Assemblyman Pretlow and Assemblyman Nader, they're all part of our Yonkers delegation. I think we have a real opportunity with this mayor, who has an excellent relationship with this governor. We're in a real good place where we can sit down, as long as we're responsible, mature, reasonable adults who are working for the public, not for ourselves. We can solve this problem.
Keep that in mind and don't forget about that one.
Oh, yeah.
Because some politicians, they do forget about that as time goes on. Charter schools. How do you feel about charter schools?
So, that's a good question. Out of the YFT, when I was interviewed with them, I told them I didn't have any issues with the charter schools, so they're mad at me. They said they need to educate me on that issue.
Did they?
Fine. Not yet. I mean, if I get into office, they decide to stay out of my race. Listen, this charter school for excellence on Warburton Avenue is excellent. I know we're going to build a high school. It's needed where we're going to build it. For economic reasons, it's needed. I know a lot of the students who have come through that school. So I'm okay with it. I mean, I don't want to, again, that's where the demagoguery comes in, the politicians. I don't want to just react to people who are saying, charter schools are no good, they're taking money away from our kids. I mean, it works. It's working. So again, I want to have reasonable conversations. And therein, it's an interesting question because sometimes special interests are very myopic. Agreed? So I can talk to the head of the police, the head of the fire, the head of the teachers union. I can talk to taxpayers associations and other community groups. And everybody has their issue. Everybody sees it from their lens, from their perspective. And I'm saying a good elected official takes all of that information and has to make responsible decisions based on all the information. The problem, as I see it, is that too many politicians, promise you something. I promise no one anything other than I will speak to you, I will listen to you, and then I will make a decision. And you can bet I'm going to make a decision. I'm not going to punt. You need to make responsible decisions. As an example, you have a budget, $1.6 billion. All right, so we have a shortfall. So the question always comes up in council meetings, in caucuses, or in committee meetings. Well, we've got to raise taxes. No, I don't want to raise taxes. We got to cut services. No, I don't want to cut services. Guess what? Those are your only two choices. You have to make it. And I'm not afraid to make a decision. I'm not afraid to lose. I'm putting myself out there. I think this is real public service. And that's what I've always done my 38 years, whether I'm a volunteer coach, or working on hotlines, or working in youth services, or working for the mayor, or working as a council person. I still have my full-time job, and I think that's real important. This is a
You don't do this because you need it. It's because you want to serve, I guess.
I need to serve. I think if I'm not going to be part of the solution, then I consider myself part of the problem. You alluded to it, I think, before we went on camera. or I think we're on camera, not everybody votes. Why? This is your government. We're going to have an election where we have 9,300 registered Democrats just in the 3rd district, and maybe 10%, a little bit more, are going to vote.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
People need to get involved.
Yeah, but you just spoke about something that I think it's very important, Dennis. To me, at least to me, I like politicians that will tell the truth,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily that will say the things that I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of these politicians, once I speak to them about the problem, oh, we're going to fix that,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to resolve that, and they will give me that full sense of security
Mm-hmm.
that my issue will be resolved.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Okay, sometimes I think it's important to be honest, tell the truth, and let the people digest and understand. And sometimes you gain more
Mm-hmm.
that way, because people will feel a sense of honesty
Mm-hmm.
that you're replying
Mhm.
according to what you think you can do, and you're not just making empty promise. Oh, we will handle that, or we will solve that,
Mhm.
or we will change the formula, or
Mhm.
we will get this, or we will get that. Now, let's move into another subject.
Mhm.
In your district, there's a lot of buildings going on, constructions. I have been at some of those buildings. I have talked to some of those guys who work there. I have looked at the trucks that park there to take the supplies out. Large percentage of those guys don't live in Yonkers.
I'm not happy about that either.
Okay?
Rob.
A lot of those trucks come from out of state.
I agree. So,
One of the conditions for those buildings to be built there and for those contracts to happen was that people of Yonkers would be the first choice.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that you have to hire somebody from Yonkers just because he is from Yonkers,
Mhm.
but if Yonkers has people that are qualified for those jobs, why hire somebody from New Jersey or Pennsylvania or whatever? Where do you stand on that?
100%. Yonkers first. Yonkers people need to be employed first, especially if we're giving out tax abatements or pilots, which are payment in lieu of taxes. I also think they should be union jobs. Definitely livable wage jobs. That needs to happen, and I see the same license plates that you see, and I don't think that's right. So as a council member, although, again, that's where our vote as a council, we have 2 critical votes according to the charter as a council member. The budget and land disposition. That falls under land disposition. And that's where, and I think my record speaks for itself. The 4 years I was on the city council, I was actually on the IDA for 10 years, so I understand the whole process. I understand tax abatements and pilots, and I understand the need for all of that to spur on this economic development, but we need to do it where we're taking care of Yonkers residents and Yonkers communities, and we need to do it smartly. That's where the whole I think the smart development started, not because of me, but while I was on the city council. During the Ridge Hill project, which I never wavered on, incidentally, although I was yelled at many, many times. And that's a really good point. I appreciate you saying that. Politicians need to have strong backbones. They need to have convictions, and that's where I think that's really why I think I'm going to be beneficial to this city council and to this administration. Is that you're always going to know where I stand, but you're always going to have the opportunity to talk to me and to perhaps change my mind on a position I hold dearly, but you're never going to be blindsided. You're never not going to know where I stand, and I'm never going to tell you that I can do something for you just because I know that's what you want to hear. I know every politician knows what the audience wants to hear. Sometimes it's very tempting just to tell them what they want to hear, but then it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope into compromising on your principles and your beliefs. You and I don't have to believe the same thing. We just have to respectfully disagree. And I think that's what public service should be all about. I work for you. If the people of the 3rd District elect me, I work for them. They don't work for me. So I take my orders from them. I need to understand what their needs are. And I need to, obviously the person, I can't just make up stuff. I have to go with what they're telling me. Whether it's the potholes, whether it's the safe streets, the clean parks, more money for education, better education, neighborhood schools, development, no development, how high are these buildings, how low are these buildings. All of that comes before the city council. And if you do your homework and you understand the various communities in Yonkers, you're going to be able to come to a place, because most of the community groups and all of the unions are very reasonable people. You know, they like you just don't want politicians to lie to them. They just tell us where you stand. And that has been my reputation. I think anybody you could speak to or any voter could speak to will tell you, you know, you're going to know where Dennis stands. You may not agree with him, or he might not agree with you.
But I know where you stand. Dennis, since we are talking about buildings, tell me, where would you stand on this? Not far from us, a block towards the west side, towards the river, used to be our old city jail. Before the city jail property was purchased, there were tax reductions to allow the new owner. There were promises made. The place was going to be used for the community. Community could go there and use the place, part of the place, as a gallery for their artwork. Huge tax deductions or abatements on there. Once the deal was done, I don't remember one single activity for the people of the community.
Yeah.
So how would you react when promises are made in order for you to buy a property, and then you don't fulfill your part of the promise? Once the deal is done, the deal is done. Nothing has happened there for the benefit of the community.
Well, it depends on how the deal is structured. There could always be a reverter clause in any deal, and that's probably what I would ask the administration to do, or the IDA, whomever brokered the deal. In this particular case, I would defer to the council person of the area, you know, see what that person's position is, see what. Now, that was a city-owned piece of property, so we weren't getting taxes from that anyway, and now it's in the private developer's hands. I don't know the details of that, but I'm guessing at some point that owner is going to do what that owner is supposed to do. Sometimes development projects take time. They need to get their financing in place. They need to get their architecture.
That construction ended years ago.
Yeah.
It took ownership of that years ago.
Right.
Has not been a single activity for the benefit.
Well, then that I honestly don't know enough about that project, but I would want that to be exactly what. I can't imagine that the owner has any value in just having it.
Well, he has. He made the place his own private gallery.
Oh.
It became his gallery,
Okay.
not the community gallery, at least in part. But the same thing with the buildings in your area. It's been going on for years, that the people who are working there, the majority are not residents of Yonkers. I'm not saying there is none.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the majority.
Yeah.
And we have homeless people in Yonkers that are homeless because they don't have jobs. And a lot of the labor, homeless people, unemployed people could be. So that brings us to the homeless situation in Yonkers.
It's a problem. It's a mental health problem too. And that's where we need to reach out to our partners at other levels of government, the county in this case and the state, and we need to come up with a real solution. This is a serious homelessness and affordable housing, two serious issues that Yonkers needs to tackle, needs to get a grasp of, and needs to come up with a plan that's going to work moving forward.
Because then, as I tell you, even with the job, I would have a hard time paying for for rent, for the rent. So I could have a job and still be homeless.
Yeah, that goes to my livable wage, which I supported when I was on the council, and we passed. We only had 4 votes. I incidentally was the first Democrat ever to represent the 3rd district, and it's been Democrat ever since, and it's going to be Democrat moving forward, any foreseeable future. So we need to create those jobs that have livable wages, and there's a lot of housing stock in Yonkers that's just barren. You know, I think if we can come up with a plan, and I know the mayor's working on something and has done something. I think there's something in the 1st district that he's affordable housing, which is wonderful. Those are the types of things we need to do, and we can do more of that.
And now let's jump into budget. We spoke of the budget in the beginning, but the budget is going on. The conversation is going on. Chances are we're going to have a tax increase again. Last year, we heard promises that no tax increase, no tax increase. Well,
for last year.
For last year. We got 6 point whatever. That would be it. We are looking into another tax increase. Where do you stand?
Well, I mean, the city council is deliberating on the budget as we speak. I don't know that there's going to be another tax increase. One was proposed. They scheduled a budget vote.
That's correct.
Okay. So, I mean, raising taxes isn't terrible if you can articulate to your constituents what the tax money is going towards.
Well,
Well-
I have to break you.
Okay,
Increasing taxes is not terrible. Tell that to the people on fixed income.
I agree. But again, we have city services, these quality of life issues that I talk about. We have an education. We have an education system with 27,000 students. We have a police department, a fire department, a sanitation department, a parks department. We have lots of city services that we, as a community, as the public, have to pay for. Now, your question isn't, are we raising taxes too much? I think the real question is, are we properly managing our funds? So we don't have to raise taxes. That's the real question. And that's what experienced city council members can bring to the table. What is the cost of a firefighter, a police officer, a teacher? How does it relate to our taxes? How does it relate to our property values? How does it affect that person on fixed income? Then we have to come up with so just to say, and again, I think that borders on demagoguery. Don't raise my taxes. Well, what does that mean? Don't raise my taxes. Do you get 2 days a week garbage pickup? Do you get parks that you can play in? Do you have a police department that responds to you? Do you have a fire department that responds to you? Do you have an education system that delivers 90% students graduating? Pretty awesome. The best of any big school in New York State. So those are all things to be proud of. Again, it's up to the politician, it's up to the person who's raising those taxes, to be able to articulate to the constituents why. But if I'm on fixed income and I own my home and I have a A1 school system, then my property value is going to be very high. Mm-hmm. That's important. I may have bought my house 40, 50 years ago for $80,000. It may be worth $500 million right now.
Well, Dennis, I think the people of Yonkers are smart enough that they understand that it's not just don't raise my taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that they know that there is a lot of money that's been spent that shouldn't be spent. I think they also understand that there is mismanagement of those funds. Have you seen the salaries of certain people on the police department, overtime, fire department?
That's the key to raising taxes to the people who are paying taxes. How are you managing my funds? And that's why I think I would encourage for people to get involved. And the fact that we have these salaries or overtime. I mean, overtime is you have to look into the contracts. It's too easy to say there's too much overtime. How many police officers?
I didn't say that.
No, not you specifically, but people say that. And again, this is where being an experienced elected official, a government person, a public official, and understanding how to speak to the community about that. I don't want to just go to a group and they say too much police or fire overtime, or this commissioner makes too much money, or that department is. We need to understand what's behind all of that. And it may not be mismanagement. It may be, but it may not be. So let's talk about this, but let's talk about it in a way that I'm not just saying it because that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, well, but I think that one of the issues is maybe politicians don't articulate that well to the people
Mm-hmm.
that they represent.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
When I look at it and I go to the website and I see police officers making $250,000 a year and things like that, I might not understand
Mm-hmm.
why, but maybe it needs to be articulated why.
Right.
Okay. Now, since we don't have all day, okay, and I'm sure that you're busy, let's go to crime in Yonkers. Look, crime might be going down as the mayor says,
Mm-hmm.
as the FBI reports indicates,
Mm-hmm.
but the exposure of crime in Yonkers has increased. Maybe it's because of people like I. We're
Perhaps.
there with a camera, we magnify everything
Mm-hmm.
that happens. So years ago, you would not know that much because there was not too many people with camera. Facebook didn't exist. And now it's anything happens real time, you know what's happening. So I believe that in Yonkers, crime is going down. But I also believe that a lot of these serious crimes, murders, stabbings, are being committed by young people. Kids killing kids. Okay. We have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have not a solution, but an idea of why that is happening and what can we do to bring that down. Because one murder is one murder too much.
I agree.
And I understand we cannot eliminate them.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, again, that goes back to what's behind our school budget, guidance counselors. It all starts at the younger grades. A lot of the programs that we have had in the past, we don't have. A lot of the children who come to our schools, the first meal they have is when they get to school. So that's a whole social problem that we need to wrap, and government needs to do what they can do, to solve that. Clearly, we have a fantastic police department. I'm a total advocate of our police officers. They do a great job. And they're very community oriented. They have a lot of good programs, but we probably need more. We need more community policing. I mean, we've started doing that. We need more. I mean, one of the incidents I'm sure you're referring to is half my district, the other half the first district on Lake Avenue. I grew up on Lake Avenue.
And on St. John's, in front of St. John's Hospital, the 16-year-old that got shot.
Yeah,
that's your district as well, right?
St. John's Hospital, yes. But the point, say that wouldn't be a beat cop. Lake Avenue, you would need a beat cop. We have a beat cop, but he only works his shift, as I'm sure you're aware. How do we? When I was on the city council, so I would partner with my first district council person, and that would be part of the city budget process. We need cops in the business districts more than just one shift 5 days a week. We need the presence. We need more cops on the street. I don't think anybody would argue with that. So that would certainly help. But beyond that, it's a social issue with our children in young ages, and then they get, and there's no activities. We took away a lot of the sports, a lot of the arts in our schools. That's where it all starts.
Well, guys, I think we already went through our time limit.
We did?
I think we did, Dennis.
Okay.
But I want to give you now this opportunity to tell or explain to the people why you think you are the right man for this job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I think I've hopefully I've articulated and shown you my passion for the city of Yonkers, specifically for the 3rd District, North and Southwest Yonkers. Where I've grown up, I've been here my entire life. I've raised 6 children, have 3 grandchildren. I'll have 5 by the end of this year. So I'm blessed. It would be an honor. It would be an honor and a privilege for me to serve you again. You will certainly get someone who you can rely on, someone who is doing this job for the right reasons, and who will report to you, who will be your public servant. So I ask you to come out Tuesday, June 25th, Democratic primary, and vote for me. I'm on line, I think 13A, I believe. I hope I got that right. Again, my experience, my leadership abilities are the reasons I believe you should come out and vote for me.
Well, guys, the reason why Yonkers Voice was born was to hold our elected officials accountable for what they do, for the promises that they make and broke. So if you are elected, and if you feel the people, or if there is any questions, we will track you down.
Excellent.
We will be there like a bad headache.
I think that's excellent. Wonderful.
So thank you very much,
Thank
Dennis,
you so
for
much,
taking
Roy.
the time to
time.
sit with us.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you.
this is it. If you think Mr. Dennis Robertson is the man, come out and vote June 25th, the primary. So the decision is yours. We did what we had to do, and now you do what you have to do. Stay tuned for more.